This artwork here, honestly, it's one of my favorites. It's by Donatello. Yes, one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We're going to look at all four Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in this class: Donatello, Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael. We're going to start with Donatello. And what we're looking at here is Donatello's sculpture, Saint George. And this is inset in Or San Michele, and it is for the Guild of Armors. So the Armory Guild. They make swords, they make shields, and here we see their patron saint, Saint George. Now, Saint George is the patron saint of armor and sword makers because he himself was a soldier. Now, Saint George was alive during the ancient Roman period in the 3rd century, and he was a soldier in the Roman army. However, he converted to the Christian faith, which was illegal at the time. And anybody, especially soldiers in the Roman army, who were found to be Christians were thought to be traitors to the empire and were ordered to be murdered. And so, under the orders of the emperor at the time, Emperor Diocletian, George was ordered to convert or to be killed. And he chose his faith over his life. And he was brutally tortured and then killed. So here we see our ancient Roman soldier, but he's not dressed like an ancient Roman. In fact, if we were to be very familiar with military history, we would understand that what he's wearing is the latest in military armor of the Renaissance period, of the 15th century. So rather than depicting him as a 3rd century soldier, Donatello, the artist, has depicted him as a young soldier of the 15th century, or more specifically, a young Florentine soldier. And what he's wearing is the latest and greatest in military technology from the Florentine Armor Guild. This is kind of like an advertisement for the guild. Now, I need you to use your imagination because originally the shield that he has was painted, and he held in his hand a metal sword, and most likely on his head rested a metal helmet. So he would have been fully outfitted in helmet, sword, and shield, ready for battle, right? Where is the sword and shield, or where's the sword and helmet now? They've been lost. You know, like I said, human beings. We love to loot. We suck, okay? Let's look at it from a different view. Here it is when you're standing on the street looking at the niche where he sits. Okay, so he's a full-size figure and he's occupying this niche and he's looking this way, out into the street, and he's holding that sword which would have been poking up and out of the building itself. The way that he stands. Now I bring up this slide here because I want to look at the way that he stands. Let me move out of the way. The way that Donatello depicts a figure standing is very similar, but not, to how we saw Pisano in the Italian Gothic period. Do you remember how we said that Pisano was creating this curve that seemed to distribute the weight of the body, but it wasn't quite realistic? Well, Donatello seems to have mastered it. The body weight rests on his left leg without this awkward bend or curve. What Donatello is mimicking here is the ancient Greek and Roman posture. This is a statue from ancient Greece. I'm not going to give you the details of it because I don't want us to get sidetracked, but this is a very popular statue, and this stance, the weight resting on one leg or one leg engaged and bearing the weight, and one leg is disengaged, bent. We see that echoed here in Donatello's son, St. George. That is not an accident. Donatello knows exactly what he's doing. He is deliberately trying to mimic ancient Greek statuary. All of this lead up is to give you this vocabulary term. Now, it's kind of awkward. I just shrunk them down. So not to scale, you guys. It's not one is mini and one is big. But pay attention to the definition. The definition of this type of stance that we saw in ancient Greek art that Donatello is now recreating in his work of art is called contrapposto. Contrapposto, to stand against the distribution of weights, balances of the body with corresponding higher and lower hips and shoulders to the weight-bearing leg or side. And that is what we're seeing in ancient Greek and Roman statuary of standing figures, and that is now what we are finally seeing come into play or come into fruition in Donatello's St. George. So we look at Donatello's St. George as an example of this renaissance, this rebirth in the understanding and use of contrapposto. Now, an interesting thing about contrapposto is that not only is it the physical counterbalance of the body, but as the Greeks and the Romans understood and used the posture, when someone is standing in contrapposto, counterbalance, it is not just a reflection of their balanced body, but their balanced mind. Contrapposto is a visual way of showing somebody who is balanced, is in harmony. You're not too much to one side or too much to the other. You're balanced in body, and you're not too mean or too nice. You're not too stupid, and you're not too smart. You're not too shy. You're not too outgoing. Instead, what you have is a equal or balanced body and an equal and balanced mind. And this posture of contrapposto was often used in ancient Greek and Roman world as a symbol for a good leader. That good leaders had a balanced body and a balanced mind. Health of body, health of mind. So taking into consideration the use of contrapposto to also be the balanced body and mind, let's look at Donatello's St. George, because Donatello would know that. And Donatello, I'm just going to tell you right now, Donatello is like a poet with his sculpture. He brings in these smaller facets and narratives and rhythms, and they are in the body and in the face and in the fingertips. They're very subtle and they're very, very sweet. So let's look more closely at these subtleties. Here we are. So this is his face. We see a young man, don't we? And how would you describe his expression? Let's just pretend we're in class together and start shouting out your ideas. Worried, concerned, alert. We're seeing a soldier, a young man as a soldier, with expressions of worry and concern. He's outfitted for war, for battle, and you see this awareness of what is to come. We see a man who is ready to fight, but also recognizes the death that comes with war, the honor with war, and the death with war. Now, this is very powerful in consideration to what is happening in Florence at this time. Now, I said that Florence was thriving, and it was, but also during the early 1400s, they had a new enemy in the King of Naples. What? Yes, the king of Naples, who his territory is in the southern peninsula of Italy, was rising in power and tearing up the Italian countryside, taking territory for his own gain. And he was coming to Florence. He had set up his soldiers encamped outside of Florence, and the people of Florence were getting ready for war, protecting their home from the king of Naples. Now, this war that is threatening is also one of the reasons why the government of Florence had pushed so hard to fill in these niches. They were like, hey, we got to show that we're not afraid of the king of Naples, even though he is ripping up through the Italian peninsula and taking territory left and right. We're going to show that we're not afraid by spending money on some art. So guilds, get your stuff, put it in those niches, and then the people of Florence who pass by this spot will say, oh, I shouldn't be worried about this war that's going to happen because the guilds aren't worried. They're spending money on art. I'll stay. I won't run away. I'll defend the city of Florence. Defend the city of Florence with art? Yes. And here, Donatello is adding to that discussion. We see a young man outfitted in Florentine armor. He is ready for a fight, and he looks out into the distance. What does he see? He sees this impending threat. He sees and is ready to fight the king of Naples, but not without the understanding of the blood, the death, and the destruction that it also brings. Let's just pull out a little bit so you can see and appreciate how he controls himself with balance and measure as he looks out over the streets of Florence. Here he is, a young man, ready to fight, poised and prepared. So taking into consideration the connection with the King of Naples, we see a man who stands alert and defiant and ready to fight, but with the understanding of what that will bring. Perhaps this young man has never seen bloodshed before, but he knows what war is, and he's going to get a firm understanding of that. I will tell you that the King of Naples died suddenly before war broke out. And the people of Florence saw this as a miracle. They were like, oh, we don't have to fight the King of Naples. He died. And all of his soldiers just went back to Naples. They were like, forget this. We're going to go back. So, crisis averted.